You think you're just tired, but what if your soul is quietly screaming for help? What if your exhaustion is not from life's demands, but from a life that no longer makes sense? You feel tired, but it's not just physical exhaustion like after a demanding day. It's not even mental fatigue from solving complex problems or carrying stress. It's something deeper, a hollowness pulling at your chest, a silence that feels heavier than noise, a kind of weight that no amount of sleep or rest can lift. You might eat well, you might sleep 8 hours, you might even laugh with friends and smile in photos. But when the noise fades and you're alone with your thoughts, the weariness returns. And the worst part, you don't know why. No one told you this, so let me say it now. You are not just tired, you are spiritually drained. What you feel is not imaginary. It's not laziness. It's not a dramatic phase. It's the silent consequence of living in a world that demands too much, gives too little, and numbs your inner truth. You're always chasing something, a goal, a title, a sense of meaning. And just when you think you've reached it, it fades. You get the job, but still feel empty. You're surrounded by people, but feel completely unseen. Arthur Schopenhauer, one of philosophy's darkest yet clearest voices, didn't sugarcoat it. He said what most thinkers feared to say out loud. Human suffering isn't an accident. It's our baseline. In his groundbreaking work, The World as Will and Representation, Schopenhauer broke the illusion that we were born to be happy. To him, the entire universe, humans, animals, nature, even the stars, is a blind, unconscious manifestation of an eternal force, the will. This will doesn't think. It doesn't care. It doesn't rest. It only wants. And once it gets what it wants again. It never stops. And because we are this will, we are desire itself, we are condemned to suffer. The moment we satisfy one desire, another replaces it. Pleasure is fleeting. Fulfillment slips through our fingers. And in the desperate attempt to escape this loop, we throw ourselves into more work, more noise, more distractions. But the truth is, we're not escaping, we're sinking. And that, Schopenhauer would argue, is the true cause of our spiritual exhaustion. This video is not here to sell comfort. It's here to expose what most are too afraid to look at, that maybe your soul is not weak. Maybe it's just tired of pretending to be okay in a world that doesn't know what peace is. If you're still here, it means something in you already knows this. And you're finally ready to hear the truth. Most people spend their whole lives trying to avoid everything you see, from the patterns of nature to the most elaborate human choices, is, in Schopenhauer's view, nothing more than an expression of a blind, irrational force. We are not rational beings who happen to have desires. We are desire itself, wrapped in reason. And this simple but devastating shift changes everything. There is no why, no ultimate goal. The will doesn't want something specific. It wants to want. Wanting is the very essence of life. Think about it. Have you ever truly felt satisfied for long? You want something. You crave it. You fight for it. You get it. And then it fades. It becomes ordinary. It slips from your hands like sand. And in no time, a new desire takes its place. The cycle restarts and you are running again without realizing you're on a treadmill. That's the trap. You wake up each morning fueled by drives you barely understand. The will to be noticed, to be admired, to succeed, to escape, to change. You exhaust yourself chasing these shadows, but at the core, there is only a blind, directionless will dragging you forward like a starving beast. It doesn't care about your happiness. It doesn't care about your peace. It just wants more. And this shows up everywhere. In advertising that tells you you're not enough. In social media that feeds your insecurities. In consumerism that promises meaning and delivers emptiness. Even in relationships that become more about validation than love. We live in a system designed to amplify desire, and the more we desire, the more enslaved we become. Don't you feel it? That relentless inner restlessness. That idea that relief is always just around the next corner, but when you reach the corner, it's already moved. That's because the desire was never about reaching. It was about chasing. And Schopenhauer stares us in the face with a cruel truth. Suffering is not a flaw of life. It is its structure. It doesn't come from poverty, failure, or illness. It comes from being alive. Because to live is to be caught in a current that never rests. You are not just tired. You are being consumed by an engine that doesn't stop, an endless will that wears down the soul. And here's the worst part. The more you try to fill the emptiness, with dopamine, with success, with distractions, the deeper it becomes. So, is there a way out? If desire is the root of all suffering, is it possible to break the cycle? That's what we'll explore next. Schopenhauer called it the pendulum, a violent swing between pain and boredom that chains the human spirit. If this message resonates with you, click the subscribe button and join us. Thank you for being here, because if you believe life is a quest for happiness, prepare to be shaken. Schopenhauer dismantled that illusion. He said human existence is not a straight line to fulfillment. It's a loop. A pendulum swinging endlessly between two agonies. First comes pain, the pain of not having what you desire, the longing, the anxiety, the frustration. Then comes the fleeting joy of attainment, followed by boredom, the quiet killer, a hollow feeling that whispers, "Now what?" And then a new craving emerges, and the swing begins again. Pleasure is momentary. But suffering and boredom, they stay. Look at your own life. That job you fought so hard for, has it fulfilled you? That relationship you dreamed of, did it stop your restlessness? The phone, the car, the validation, the applause, how long did any of it last? We chase, we grasp, we reach, only to find that what we were reaching for was never really there. That's the cruelty. That's the truth. According to Schopenhauer, boredom is just as destructive as suffering because it exposes the emptiness behind our pursuits. When everything you've ever wanted is finally in your hands, what remains is not peace, but the uncomfortable silence of your soul. And here lies the most perverse truth. This pendulum does not stop. Even when you're exhausted, even when you're desperate to rest, the will continues to beat within you like an unrelenting drum. It stirs up new desires, new goals, new distractions. And without question, you obey. Because you've been conditioned to believe that happiness is always waiting just one step ahead. But what if that next step is just the beginning of another emptiness? That's why so many people live restless lives, not because they lack anything material, but because every fulfilled desire quickly reveals itself as a mirage. The pain of wanting is agonizing, but the boredom that follows achievement, it's quietly devastating. It strips away meaning, it exposes the farce, and it leaves you wondering if any of it was ever real. Schopenhauer didn't write to comfort you. He wrote to wake you. And that awakening is not gentle. It strips away the filters of naive optimism and forces us to confront the possibility that the pain we carry daily is not accidental, but foundational to life itself. You might ask, if this cycle is endless, if life is this constant seesaw between pain and boredom, what causes it? Why are we so vulnerable to this loop? The answer lies in a battlefield most never see. A war being waged within your soul every single day. An invisible war between your nature and your conditioning. And modern life only adds fuel to that fire. Have you ever felt like you're living on autopilot? You wake up, scroll, respond, work, consume, repeat. And somehow, by the end of the day, even after getting everything done, you feel like you haven't really lived. That's the modern condition, a life of constant noise and motion that masks a deeper kind of fatigue. Schopenhauer saw this with chilling clarity. The will, the blind, relentless force inside us, has never been so overstimulated as it is today. We live in a factory of artificial desire. You're bombarded every minute with promises of transformation, a new course, a new gadget, a new habit, a new you. Everything whispers the same lie. You are not enough unless you get this. So you chase, you try, you hustle, and still you repeat the same mantra every night. I'm tired. But your fatigue isn't physical, it's existential. You're trying to fill an inner void with outer achievements, but the void only grows. The productivity cult tells you rest is laziness, slowness is failure, pausing is dangerous. So you keep hurting yourself in the name of a success that never delivers peace. And even when you reach your goals, the restlessness remains because the will never rests. It is never done. Schopenhauer said that this will is not a desire for anything specific. It's a lack, a structural emptiness. And that's why even people with comfort, security, and success often feel suffocated by a haunting absence they can't name. What they're missing isn't something external. It's the one thing modern life never gives them: stillness, silence, the end of wanting. But that end never arrives. And here's the most cruel realization. The more conscious we become of this inner war, the more powerless we feel. We know we're sabotaging ourselves, but we can't stop because the routine, the expectations, the system, they drag us back into battle. You feel this, don't you? This exhaustion without cause, this sadness that arises even when life looks fine, this restlessness that no accomplishment can soothe. This is the reflection of the will, the endless war between what you crave and what can never satisfy you. But Schopenhauer didn't just diagnose the pain, he also warned us of the next deception: hope. Because the next poison doesn't come dressed as suffering. It comes dressed as promise. In the next part, we'll uncover the trap of hope and how chasing happiness might be the most destructive lie you've ever believed. You've been told that happiness is the reward for good choices, that if you work hard and stay kind, life will eventually repay you. But what if that promise is the most dangerous lie of all? You've heard it your whole life. If you make the right choices, if you stay disciplined, if you're a good person, you'll be rewarded. Rewarded with what? Happiness. Seems fair, doesn't it? But Schopenhauer doesn't flinch. He tears the veil off this illusion and reveals the bitter truth. The idea of happiness, at least the way we've been sold it, is not a blessing. It's a poison, a trap designed to keep you hoping, striving, waiting, and never arriving. Hope, he says, is not a virtue. It is illusion, dressed up in moral clothing. Yes, it keeps us moving, but always in circles, always forward, but never arriving, because the object of hope is always in the future, always just beyond now. And so, day after day, you deny the present. You wait for things to get better, for pain to end, for peace to come. but it never does. Why? Because the will, this blind force at the core of existence, does not seek fulfillment. It seeks to keep desiring. It doesn't want an endpoint. It wants the chase. And when you finally get what you wanted most, you feel a flicker of satisfaction, maybe even joy. But then it fades, and the will finds a new goal, a new craving, a new ache. That's the true face of hope, a beautiful lie that keeps you trapped in an endless loop. It tells you that happiness is almost here, while secretly feeding the very suffering it promises to end. Hope and suffering, in Schopenhauer's view, are twins. Hope prolongs agony. It delays acceptance. It teaches you to expect perfection from an imperfect world. And society? It profits from your confusion. That's why the market floods you with self-help books, quick fix courses, motivational mantras. They promise transformation in 21 days, while silently blaming you for not being happy yet. You're told that unhappiness is a personal failure, but it isn't. Unhappiness, says Schopenhauer, is structural. It's built into life itself. Trying to escape suffering by chasing happiness is like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. But here's where something shifts. Once you see the mechanism, once you understand the cycle, you begin to loosen its grip. You stop running, you start watching, and with that awareness comes the inevitable question: if happiness is an illusion, if hope is a trap, then what's left? Is life just suffering? Should we give up? Sink into despair? Schopenhauer offers something radical, something most people aren't ready to hear. The exit isn't through more effort, it's through letting go. Not because you're weak, but because you're finally wise. In the next part, we'll explore what Schopenhauer calls the path of renunciation, the only real way out of the torment of wanting. Because true freedom, he says, begins when you stop asking for life to fulfill you. If this message is resonating, my ebook Beyond the Shadow goes deeper into Carl Jung's core insights and offers tools for breaking out of self-deception and emotional manipulation. You'll find the link in the pinned comment. Now back to the question gnawing at your mind. If desire is suffering, then what's left to live for? Should you numb yourself, detach, give in to apathy or nihilism? This is where Schopenhauer surprises us. He doesn't advocate for giving up. He doesn't promote bitterness or blind resignation. He offers something far more powerful: a silent revolution of the soul, the denial of the will. The world tells you, you must want more. Schopenhauer whispers back, no, you must want less. This doesn't mean apathy. It means breaking the cycle at its source. It means no longer identifying with that gnawing, endless craving, no longer seeking satisfaction in what can never satisfy. Freedom for Schopenhauer lies in minimizing desire, reducing it, not feeding it. But how do you do that in a world built to inflame your every want? He offers 3 paths, each demanding but deeply transformative. The first, aesthetic contemplation, art, beauty, nature. When you lose yourself in a song, a sunset, a work of poetry, not because you want something, but simply to witness. The will pauses, desire fades, you become still. The second, inner silence. Through introspection, meditation, and solitude, you retreat, not in weakness, but in strength. You step outside the frenzy, you quiet the noise. You return to a self that isn't defined by craving. This isn't escape, it's defiance, and it's only the beginning. You've spent your whole life trying to find peace. But what if peace doesn't come from wanting more, but from wanting less? True freedom begins not when you achieve everything, but when you stop letting the world dictate what you should chase. Schopenhauer didn't ask you to conquer your life. He asked you to confront it, to look within, to see the cravings that pull your strings, and to gently but firmly say, no more. It's the refusal to keep running, to stop believing that your worth lies at the end of another goal. It's the realization that peace has never been found in outcomes, but in the rare and radical act of no longer needing to seek. And this is where he introduces the most challenging path: asceticism, a conscious discipline, a bold and deliberate act of denying worldly pleasures, not to punish yourself, but to break the illusion that fulfillment comes from consumption. This is not about living in caves, not about rejecting life. It's about choosing, with clarity, where your soul's energy should go. You stop battling life. You begin flowing with it, aware, awake, unchained. You no longer need everything. You no longer need to win. You only need to stop being consumed by it all. This is the quiet revolution Schopenhauer calls for, not to defeat the world, but to empty your attachment to it. And yes, it's hard, but what other path has ever truly offered you peace? You've spent years trying to figure it out, to get stronger, more focused, more positive. You followed all the advice, kept your chin up, reached your goals. But the void remained, the fatigue persisted, relief never fully came, because the problem was never you. The problem was the system of wanting itself. Schopenhauer tears away the illusion. Suffering isn't a detour. It's the engine of life, as long as you are chained to desire. But there's a way out, and that way begins when you want less, when you no longer demand that life be perfect, when you stop trying to hold on to every beautiful moment and simply let it pass through you, like music, like wind. True wisdom, according to Schopenhauer, is not in having more, being more, doing more. It is in letting go of the obsession with more. It is in contemplating life as one contemplates a painting, without rushing to own it, control it, or change it. Just present, just still, just there. Maybe you feel spiritually drained, not because you failed, but because you succeeded in everything the world asked of you. And still, it was not enough. But this isn't your end. It's your beginning, the start of a new kind of existence, lighter, slower, truer, one that no longer needs to impress, achieve, or dominate. Just breathe, just be. Now I want to hear from you. What part of this message touched you the most? What made you pause and reflect? Leave a comment below. I read everything, and I respond whenever I can. And if you know someone who is quietly struggling, someone whose exhaustion runs deeper than sleep can fix, share this video with them. It might be the spark that sets them free. And don't stop here. The next video continues exactly where this leaves off. It's another step in this path, but this time with your eyes turned inward. Watch, reflect, and remember, you were never broken. You were just misled. And now, you're finally coming home to yourself.